Hello and welcome to Balanced Existence. Today is day 18 of our 31-day series where I am recording a video each day in the month of December 2025, all to recalibrate our energy and align with our highest timeline. But of course, whenever you find this video, I trust that there is something here for you and it is a timeless message. So let me know how this series has been treating you, what breakthroughs you may be having. If you're just tuning in now, I definitely recommend checking out the previous videos. As always, we're going to start with an oracle card and astrology card, and then we will get into the tarot. So today we're starting off with the oracle of flexibility. There's a fish on this card and a mermaid. And it says, gently flow through the turbulence. Life has the ability to shape you. Bend, don't break. So definitely being called to kind of have an adaptable, open mind, open heart, kind of surrender the control or the, wanting things to happen in a certain way or in a certain timing, surrendering and letting all of that go. And for the astrology card, we have Aries. So we did get this on a previous day. And so I love the duality of these energies and I'm getting chills channeling into this because the flexibility card is, it's kind of got, of course, the under the sea theme, and it's like a bluish turquoise. It's very chill and flowing and relaxed and peaceful. And then meanwhile you have the Aries card, which is bright, fiery red and orange, and Aries is the spark that creates, right? And so you're being called to take that courageous, decisive Aries action, but in a way that's flexible and not overly attached to controlling the outcome, right? So I'm going to read the Aries card. It says, the dynamic energy of fire blends with the cardinal can-do quality and advocates taking action. Take charge, take risks, take control. The key phrase, I am, means that the motivation is centered on the self. In this situation, ask, how does this benefit or affect me? Whatever you do it with as much energy as you can muster. So yeah, this very strong action-oriented Aries energy. And we actually did get the action oracle card a few days ago. So again, be sure to check out these previous readings as I feel very strongly they're all linked together. And yeah, we've got this Aries energy and this invitation to embrace momentum and movement and courage and decisive action. It's that bold, pioneering leadership energy. But we're also being called to loosen our grip and, release control in terms of how things should unfold. That rigidity is what breaks things, but the flexibility is what's able to bend and survive. And so once you kind of adapt your expectations and shift your perspective and embody more of that flexibility, you can pivot quickly when life redirects you, and you can constantly be aligning to your highest path, right? But when you pick a certain way of showing up and, you constrict yourself to the rigidity of one path, then it makes it much harder for you to, quantum leap and jump timelines and evolve into higher frequencies, if you get too stuck in your ways or stuck in whatever expectations that you've created. So with that in mind, let us go into the tarot. So we're going to start here with the Three of Swords, the Tower, and the Two of Cups. Wow. And the Four of Wands. Wow. That's really beautiful and transformative energy here. So, starting off with the Three of Swords, this is heartbreak, emotional pain. This could be you currently, this could be maybe past. Of course, it's a collective reading, so take the timeline as it resonates. But this is a feeling of just complete mental and emotional overwhelm. Maybe even like you're identifying with your suffering, like the story, the egoic story of your suffering, right? Which is, of course, not in the theme of flexibility. And the Three of Swords is calling you to kind of release expectations, heal from this heartbreak and emotional pain, release the suffering. And even through this discomfort, seeking the truth, seeking clarity on the situation, discerning or filtering between what is you and what is not you, right? You are not your pain. You are not your suffering. You just experience that as you are in this human body and having this human experience. And the Three of Swords can also talk about you feeling emotionally stuck. And so that's where this flexibility is going to come in and allowing you to act with clarity and overcome that emotional rigidity. And so with the flexibility, you're able to open yourself to new perspectives of your own self-beliefs, of the world, and new ways of showing up and existing. And so that's what's being called forward. That's what you're being called to do as you experience any kind of disappointments or emotional wounds. Taking on that new, fresher perspective that's going to align with a higher timeline. And then, of course, we have the Tower, which is all about a complete breakdown, a overhaul of the old way of doing things, a collapse or degradation of your ego, and a major shift, pivot, reorientation. But this is like a divine redirection, freeing you to move on to the next phase. Like it's a complete liberation and, revelation. And it may be like a sudden change. It may be a realization that hits you like a ton of bricks, like just such a strong realization that you no longer want to identify with the old patterns or old thoughts or beliefs. And again, with the courage of Aries, but also the flexibility here, you're being called to allow those old truths and old, painful sufferings to fall away so that you can open up to something that's more aligned and really raise your frequency. So this could, of course, be a belief you have about yourself or the world, some kind of internal pattern. It could be a plan or a passion project or creative project, or it could be a relationship dynamic, friendship, family, romantic. But ultimately, everything we endure is inside out, right? So even if it's something that's in your external environment that is undergoing this Tower moment, it's still a reflection of your internal state or your internal beliefs or thoughts or feelings. But this is what, you're being asked to lean into this experience, this Tower phase, and allow that which is unstable, allow and trust that which is unstable is going to be removed instead of resisting it. That's where that flexibility piece comes in. But we still are showing up with that strong, bold, courageous Aries energy. And it's a pioneering energy, right? So especially as we're embracing new ways of thinking, new perspectives on life, of course we're doing it with flexibility, but Aries is very much, it's the first sign in the zodiac. It's the beginning, it's the start, it's the spark. So this is all about that kind of like balance of the courageous, like let's overhaul the old ways and, start new and join this higher timeline, higher frequency, but we do so with flexibility and an open mind and an open heart. And that is what leads us to those external outcomes in our life that, manifest in alignment, which brings us to the Two of Cups, which is friendship, partnership, emotional connection, emotional alignment, emotional reciprocity. And so as we embody this flexibility, that is what allows us to have the most strong, unwavering relationships. When we show up with flexibility, we don't allow egoic expectations to, cause us to be rigid in our relationships. But of course, we still have that strong Aries energy, which has strong boundaries, which knows how each of these relationships is affecting yourself. And if there's something that's not in alignment, of course, Aries has the bold and courageous energy to stand up for your own needs, right? And that's the beautiful duality of this balance, is standing up for yourself, but also approaching your relationships with flexibility. So as you move towards these connections, which, after this Tower moment, you're able to align with and attract and magnetize into your life, you're then able to move towards connections with this sense of openness rather than control. So if this is a specific relationship that's undergoing this heartbreak, Tower, Two of Cups, of course, these readings are meant to be internal, about your own internal energy, more so than they are predictions about any kind of external outcome. But a connection can be forming or rebalancing, whether it's a soul connection, like a friendship, family, or, any kind of spiritual bond, or and that could be, of course, romantic. But, there's going to be a union and a like powerful healing and harmony that you're able to achieve in your friendships and relationships. But only if you approach it with that flexibility, allow the dynamic to breathe, allow it to evolve in its own time, rather than trying to force or control, as you're taking that fiery Aries action energy. I'm feeling like a lot of like the Tower energy can be very like fiery Aries. Aries is like, let's do it this way. Let's take action. That can be very productive and helpful energy with, that momentum, as you're going through a Tower moment. But when it comes to your relationships, we want to also have grace and that kind of gentle acceptance and flow. And with the Four of Wands, this is like celebrating milestones. It could be like reunion, celebrating a reunion or a homecoming. But it's a sense of harmony. It's a sense of joy and stability through this union or through this unity with, whatever concept this is, whether it's a relationship or, an internal state of being, right? But ultimately, you have a foundation for long-term success with the Four of Wands. And the Four of Wands is also fire energy. So, in combination with the Aries card, this is like Aries talks about yourself, right? Like your sense of self, how these experiences are shaping yourself. But the Four of Wands and the Two of Cups is about, how you share your experiences with others and, what you then have to celebrate because of the hard work that you do, and this union of self with others. So I'm hearing like be open to unexpected ways of experiencing or receiving joy, unexpected opportunities to foster stability in your relationships with others. This is a really strong foundational energy when it comes to your emotional stability and the stability of your relationships. And yeah, I'm just really hearing like it may be unexpected. And that's the best way to embody flexibility, is if you commit to yourself to being open to that which is unexpected. That's kind of like the cheat code to jumping to a place of surrender. It's like if you navigate through life and whenever your ego starts to ask, well, how or when is that going to happen? You say, I don't know. Or whenever your ego starts to ask, like, well, what are my expectations? What do I expect out of this? And you respond, I am expecting the unexpected, right? These are ways to kind of soothe your ego and really recalibrate in that moment with that energy of surrender, with that energy of flow. Let's see what else we can pull here. We have the Hanged Man. Yep. Yeah. The Seven of Cups and the Eight of Wands. So yeah, with the Hanged Man, I mean, yeah, like we've been talking about this whole reading. And we have got this card on pretty recently, a few readings ago. I think this is like the third time we're getting it. This is perspective shifts. I mean, seeing the world in a completely new way, letting go of control, really surrendering. And this is kind of like that softening of Aries energy, again, with the flexibility. You know, true power and progress sometimes comes from waiting, flowing, receiving. You know, it doesn't always come from that Aries go, go, go energy, right? So again, the duality of balancing Aries and flexibility is really being pronounced here. And this is also, the Hangman talks very much about an internal embodiment of flexibility. You know, when you change your internal viewpoints, when you release some kind of attachment to something, when you allow your inner world to recalibrate, right, to align with your soul's truth, with your heart-led truth, and you allow those spiritual truths to come in and process and integrate before you take action, right? This is a huge part of your journey that you're being called towards right now, is allowing that time for processing and flow and flexibility. Yeah, like I'm hearing like allow the surrender before you move, before the movement, like before the momentum. Because that's when you know you've released any kind of forcing or controlling energy. You know, focus more on your understanding than your actions, because the actions will just flow into space. I mean, Aries will not let us, you know, navigate much further through life without taking action, right? You don't have to worry about like entering a stagnant phase of not taking action. Like Aries is here. Aries is always going to be here to support you, right? And to drive you forward. But with the flexibility and the Hangman, this is all about allowing that time to pause, observe, integrate these new understandings, these new inner truths and clarities, and really embody surrender, and then allow the Aries to come in and drive us forward with that movement, with that fiery momentum, with those decisive actions. That's like that beautiful duality and that balance that we're achieving with those two energies. And then with the Seven of Cups, you're being called like not to overthink your options too much, not to overwhelm yourself with the multiple choices and, you know, multiple illusions and fantasies and all of these kind of expectations. And it can be very emotionally overwhelming, right? So although Aries is pushing for movement, you're being reminded not to act impulsively. You know, in order to choose from all of those Seven of Cups options, it requires you to, again, go inward, you know, achieve alignment, inner alignment. And that whole journey requires flexibility of you. So achieve that clarity before you commit to a particular path. And with the Eight of Wands, you know, that's that following once we've done that, now we've got the Eight of Wands energy, the Aries energy, that rapid movement, that rapid momentum, that sudden progress. It could be like certain communications or messages coming in. It could be certain travel. But it's that fast motion. It's unstoppable. It's direct. It's bold. It's courageous. It's like plowing ahead. But we know that those actions are in alignment because we've taken that time to establish flexibility. So you are like divinely guided with your own inner truths and authentic alignment. And that's what gets us aligned with our highest timeline, because we've taken that time to pause. We know when to pause. We know when to take action. We've achieved that divine balance of the two. So beautiful reading today. I mean, we've got the Tower, we've got Hangman, Eight of Wands. I mean, it's such like a transformative, Two of Cups, of course. I mean, you're transforming the way you approach life. You're magnetizing, aligned and intimate connections. And you're learning how to reflect and shift perspective as needed before you take those actions and, act on those breakthroughs that you've had regarding your inner work, your life path, your healing, your love, relationships, whatever it may be for you. So I'm going to leave the reading here, but change is happening fast. It may be happening very suddenly, but there's also going to be moments of pause, reflection, getting really honest with your emotions, really spiritually surrendering and opening yourself and committing yourself to seeing your reality clearly. So I hope that this resonated for you. I'd love to hear from you in the comments as always. And thank you so much for listening. I will be back tomorrow with day 19. Bye.